Hello, let me see who all's on and if I can figure out how to turn people into talking with me. We're going to find out. It'll be fun. And I know we're due to start. I like to give a minute or two, and then I got distracted working on website stuff because why not? Since this will become the podcast for the future of podcasting, this is a Zoom meeting with, I'm Victoria Warfel. The podcasts are Service Dog Success and Aspiring Professional Dog Trainers. And this will probably go under that one. But it's good for both, information-wise. And this came up having a breeder discussion because we're in the Professional Woman Dog Training Facebook group, which has grown between that one and the Aspiring group. We have, I counted last night. Well, I looked last night and added the two numbers together. We have over 10,500 members between those two groups, which is pretty unbelievable considering it started because we were sitting at a workshop. There was a need for it, right? There was a need for it. We're sitting at the workshop talking, and this was years ago. This is before I moved here, so 8, 9, 10 years ago. And some of the women present said that they did not feel comfortable posting in some of the other Facebook groups because the men can be a little cocky, I guess. So I said, would it help if there was one for just women? Yes. So that's why it has the fun name of Professional Women Dog Trainers, and it's other dog pros too. But this is opened up to everybody because it'll be a good talk. So as we're talking, we just got some new admins in, and I don't like to plan too far in advance. So about 2 or 3 days ago, we decided to do a breeder discussion on what to look for in a breeder and what to avoid. Because when we initially put it out there to do a breeder discussion, what topics would you like? Holy cow, we were hit with so many amazingly awesome ideas. But I don't want this to be a week-long conference in and of itself, dealing with all of those. So we figured we would tackle it. Maybe if this works out well, and we're capping it at an hour. So we started at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are on the live Zoom chat, if you have any questions for us, go ahead and post it in the chat, and I will try to keep an eye on that. Tori's here. Tori's one of our new admin, and we are going to try to make sure we get all your questions answered because we like to answer questions. So I see Mallory just joined us. Hello, Mallory. I think, yes, I can make you a host. Ooh. Oh, but that would change it, and I don't feel like changing it.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's fine. I'm be unmuting myself when I want to talk.
Perfect. See, and that's a great way to do it. And we have Linda is hopefully going to join us, and Jen. So those, I figured we would start with the four of us. Mallory here breeds Vizslas, so that's awesome. We have a couple who have been such fun clients to have, which is always good to have happen. I breed Goldens. Linda breeds Weimaraners, and Jen's love is Rottweilers. And I keep telling her, Rottweiler isn't for everybody. And she's like, but they are for everybody. They're amazing dogs. And I'm like, no, that's Goldens. And Mallory's like, no, it's Vizslas. Stop it, you guys. So, that's how we roll. Here we have Linda joining us. So yay, we're just doing introductions as we're kind of getting a slow rolling start here. And some of you guys have your video cameras turned off, and that's fine. We do have that chat on the side. So we want to make sure that if you want to be seen, you could be seen. If you don't want to be seen, don't be seen. I'm not gonna get on your case about it yet. So Mallory and Linda, what would be like the couple things that you guys feel people should look for when looking for a good breeder. What are some signs of a good breeder, and what are some things to avoid? And I know it is a hot button topic about it, but for me personally, I love to see the health testing. And that's not just, we did the Embark genetic test, because that's not health testing in total, right? So for Goldens, it's hips, elbows, eyes, and heart. And then, like I said, genetics we do because I feel like you have to. And I like to do the pen hip and the OFA right now. I'm always on the fence between them, but I'm doing both. Mallory, what is it for Vizslas that you look for?
It's the same as Goldens. I feel like most of the sporting breeds have a very similar thing. And as far as like for any breed, I do like to go and see what your parent club says. Even for some of my cross breeds, I have some breeders that I recommend, and they're just going ahead and doing all the testing that either of their parent breeds recommends to make sure that they're crossing all their I's and dotting, they're doing what they need to do. And I think that as long as you're really working to make sure that you're hitting all those points that these people are saying are historic issues in our breed that we're actively working to fix, you have someone who's really trying to do the right thing as far as where they're going with it.
Awesome. And what about for Weimaraners, Linda? What health testing do they need if someone's looking for a Weim?
Okay. Can anybody see me?
No.
Hang on. I just logged in. I was having technical issues. Okay. All right. So catch me up.
We're just talking. We're just kind of getting a slow start here. So what I like to see for a breeder, if I'm going to look for a breeder, is like the first thing is going to be, do they do health testing for their dogs? And so we were saying for the Goldens, for the Weims, or I'm sorry, Goldens and Vizslas, it's hips, elbows, eyes, and heart. And is it the same for Weims, or do they have something else that they have added to it?
There are additional, and actually for every breed, if you go on the OFA website, they list what's required for CHIC, which is the canine health. It's almost like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. And they get that from the National Breed Club. So Weimaraners, they require to get the CHIC, it's hips. They don't require elbows, but I do elbows. And I think any dog that's doing field work or agility should do elbows. Thyroid, heart, and eyes, the surf. And then there are 3 genetic tests that are very specific. They're Weimaraner only. HUU, SD, and HYM. So what people don't understand is there are genetic tests out there, and unless they're breed specific, they're not worth anything. A lot of people don't realize that. They're paying money and doesn't mean anything.
Oh, that's a really good point to make. Yeah, definitely. You want to make sure that it's not just blowing smoke.
Yeah, and then a lot of people say they do things and it's not on the website. So if the results are not sent into OFA, then buyers should ask to see proof of the certification.
Yes, I know for like when we do the hips and the elbows with OFA puts that up on the site, but we pay extra to have the pen hip put up there as well, because I think it's information that needs to be up there and it's worth it. And it always floors me whenever you have breeders who say, well, here are the certifications, here's where they're passing, like the test, but I haven't sent it in. Why? Just send it in. Pay the few bucks, send it in, and have it published for the world to see.
Yes.
I think to that point, it's important to make, depending on the breeder that you're going to work with, it's important to talk to them about why they chose to do the breedings that they're going to do, because not just because a dog doesn't pass does not necessarily mean that they are not able to contribute positively to your gene pool. I've had breeding done with bitches that had fair hips, and I've produced puppies with excellent hips and been very happy with that. And I have my reasons for why I think it's going to be okay, generally because their parents and siblings all had great hips, or there was an accident in her past that caused something that I think happened. But I think that it's also very important to remember that breeding is something beyond, like, the health tests are there to help us create better dogs, but at the same time, we need to be paying attention, and your breeder should have in mind why they're doing certain things and be able to tell you exactly what they were thinking when they made these crosses. Because sometimes, even if on paper it doesn't look like the ideal cross, they may have a very good reason about why they chose to do it.
That's an excellent point. And what people need to also look at is not just the OFA information for that breeding pair, but for the grandparents, the great grandparents, and way back.
Yeah. Yeah. Jen joined us. So Jen's love are her Rotties. What are health tests that Rotties need?
So we start with the same that everybody else starts with: eyes, cardiac, elbows, hips, knees. Knees are important for Rotties. And then we also have some genetic tests like JLPP and the long coat gene. Long coat Rotties tend to be very
adorable. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I happen to actually really like them, and they tend to have really good temperaments and dispositions. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, but they're not part of the breed standard. So long coat Rotties, you don't breed. So that's part of what we do. And JLPP is a death sentence. So if they have JLPP, if they're carriers, we don't breed for that either. For Rotties, especially with the hips, we would never breed anything but a good to an excellent, and excellence to excellence, or excellence to good. We would never breed poor or fair, ever.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, for me, I also look for raw fed.
Right.
If I was going to purchase a puppy, it would need to be raw fed appropriately. That's also a big one for me, because that is, so genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So whatever genetics a dog has, diet, nutrition, food, all of that can change the outcome of that. So that's a big one for me. And of course, minimally vaxxed is also a big one to me as well.
Toxic cleaners in the household.
Yep, all of that is super important for me. Yep. So, the ideal in my mind is we're looking to create the healthiest dogs, because nobody wants to purchase a dog that's going to die of cancer, right? And that's a really big one right now. So I take a big giant look at everything when it comes down to it. So for Han, because he is going to be bred, he has been on a raw diet since he has been 5 weeks of age. He's actually been on CBD since he was 5 months of age. He's raw fed Volhard. He gets all of his supplements muscle tested on a regular basis to make sure he's on what he needs. He gets acupuncture every 6 weeks. I don't even get it for myself, but he gets acupuncture every 6 weeks. Everything that I do is to try to create the healthiest dog known to mankind. Check in with me like 5 to 10 years from now, and I'll let you know if I made it happen.
Right.
It's a mission, man. It's a journey to try to get healthy, but each breed has their things, right? And for Rotties, cancer is a really big one. Hip dysplasia too, right? Hip dysplasia and cancer, it's so big. So we're trying to prevent that. When I say we, I mean me and a very few select people, because even as we all know, being a professional show breeder doesn't make you a good breeder. It just means that your dog got titles in a ring because a judge can only see the outside. So
yeah, we have a question over in the comments here real quick. And it is, do you include photos of all the health certificates on the website, or just include a link? I put them all up on OFA so people can check it. I used to do pictures of them and turn them into PDFs and JPEGs and stuff and put them up on the website. And I just tell people to check OFA. But if someone wants to see it, to see what it looks like, I'd be happy to send them a picture.
I do a link. I also send all my puppy buyers home with a binder, and in the binder there's a copy of every piece of paper that either parent has ever gotten. Like basically everything we ever have is all listed as a big binder. at that point, they have all the information that I can possibly have and that we have on everything. So anyone who needs to see it is going to be able to access it and look back on it depending on what they need. It helps me keep it together, but it also makes it easier for vets and other people who are looking at it later to kind of know where they're coming from. So generally I have it in whatever form somebody wants.
Nice.
I think that's a great idea. I like when breeders hand you a 3-ring binder and everything is in there. I've had, some in the past where I purchased puppies where it's like a stapled stack of papers and you're like, couldn't have put that on a 3-ring binder and made it look a little bit nicer? Like,
oh, dude, I do PDFs. I don't even do like you'll get the contract and the health certificate, but I turn everything into PDFs and I'll put it up. We have a puppy Facebook group and I'm like, here's the information. Here's what you guys need. And it's all just on there.
I used to do a binder and then I would have a class for the puppy party and give everybody a highlighter and go through everything. But after 11 litters, it became a lot. So now I send them the PDF of the puppy book.
nice.
That has everything. One thing I just wanted to get back to about looking at health of lines and breeding decisions is looking at longevity in a line. I'm really big on that. How long have the grandparents lived, the great grandparents? Because people can say the dogs are healthy, but if dogs are dying, depending on the breed, what your typical breed longevity is, and they're dying young, that's a red flag. I mean, of course, if you use a dog, you're taking it, it's all a crapshoot. Yeah. But if you look at the line and you see a lot of longevity in that line, then that's another thing that's important when I make breeding decisions and when I help people look for puppies to buy.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point. That's pretty important.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you're breeding to create longevity, right?
Yeah. And I think that's key. I want health, longevity, I want good temperament. I don't do the AKC show stuff. I do the IABCA show stuff, but I haven't got to the AKC confirmation side of it. Bert's working on some scent work titles. All ours have their Canine Good Citizen and Trick Dog titles, and the virtual stuff now that it's coming, they're getting the virtual stuff. And, I don't want to be saying like as a person with a disability, because I know some of us have them, but I just don't see how anyone does anymore. Like it exhausts me going for a couple hours. Yeah.
I do it all
for the whole day.
I do agility, obedience, AKC confirmation, field work. But what I think, whatever people can do that's outside their house, that even if it's just confirmation, you can tell if the dog has a good temperament when you're having strangers put their hands on the dog. It's great when people are doing things with their dog, and I encourage everybody in general to do them. But for a dog that's going to be bred, he needs to be seen outside his home and how he reacts to certain situations. And I think that titling a dog, not that it's the end all be all, but even especially if they're like therapy dogs or service, that's a whole different temperament and skill set. But these dogs are put under stress and under criteria within those venues.
And it's also, this goes to that first question we had from Jordan too, about what's the first step to begin learning about breeding quality dogs. I know she's looking for health tested too, which is part of it, but how you find out what dog you want? You go to the venue you want to be in and you look and see at the dogs who are competing, and you look for dogs that appeal to you. And they're not always the winners. Sometimes they aren't. Sometimes I pick out dogs that I'm like, oh, that was my favorite. I don't know, that I like these things about it. And then you go and find out more about those dogs. You find out where they came from. You find out who their breeder are. You contact that breeder and say, hey, I saw your dog performing and I want to know more about it. That's honestly going and meeting. And yes, individuals, making all your decisions off individuals is not always going to give you everything you want, because they are individuals. And that does not, just because the one dog is something doesn't mean that he's going to pass that on. But if you're looking for a place to start, the place to start is going to where you want to be and then picking out the dogs that appeal to you there.
Yeah.
And talk to as many people as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you-
Especially if you want to do hunt stuff, go to the hunt trials. Like
Yes.
don't go to like agility trials if you want to do hunt necessarily.
Exactly.
You
And
wanna
if
see
you're
the
not going
dog.
to show your dogs, you don't need to go to the AKC shows to find your Aussies. If you're planning on herding, go to where the herding is and see if you
Not
can there. Like,
necessarily. I think that there are a lot of people that do multiple sports,
sure.
and people know other people, but it is a good way to meet a group of people at a show and talk to different people and get recommendations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and talk
Get-
to them. Like, you
basically-
have to talk to people. We were sitting at the show at the IBCA one on Sunday, and somebody walked by and one of my trainers said something to them, and I'm like, we don't talk to strangers. Like, there's three of us that are pretty quiet, and then like there's Rich who's pretty loud and he talks to everybody. And she's like, no, he was one of the judges yesterday. And I was like, okay. Like, what are we turning into that we just go up and talk to random people?
But that's what you do. That's
Like-
what we do. I mean, and a
That's
lot of times
the
I've had
gossip on other
prospective
breeders, though.
puppy buyers meet me at a show
Yes.
because I don't like bringing people to the house when I have puppies.
Yeah.
And I want to see, it's like a test. How are they out in public and around other dogs? And, and all that. And, just to get a feel.
But this is also dependent on your breed. Like some
Yes.
breeds are very connected, and like, the Vizslas have put a lot of work into being what we would consider versatile. And while there is
Yes.
still a bit of a
They
schism,
have.
most show breeders are at least putting hunting titles on their dogs, if not actively field trialing their dogs. But I know that is not necessarily the case with everybody. If you really want to go hunt your Cocker Spaniel, you probably want to go look for a field Cocker, not an American showline Cocker. That's not the dog that you want. So, as much as I am a huge proponent of go to the dog show because I love it, and that's where I met my breeders and how I did these things, depending on what breeds you have, sometimes the disconnects between the two things can be much greater than in other places. I feel like Weims are similar in the fact that like most of the show Weims in the field, like you guys are doing more connection than disconnect, but
Not as much as the Vizslas.
yeah.
The Weims are a versatile breed, but the true field Weimaraners, it looks like a different breed.
Okay.
Yeah, people who field trial.
Yeah.
That's
The
a whole
NFC,
different
like
thing.
real field trial dogs. Yeah.
The Vizsla people have done a better job. Honestly, they really have.
It's been an active place that they have been working since I got in. Has been very much to go, okay, this is something we're supposed to be able to do, so we ought to be able to do it.
Yeah, and there's a big divide in field labs and show labs.
Goldens too.
Yeah.
And Goldens too, especially Golden. Yeah, both
And look-
Goldens, labs, and
And
that's
aesthetics.
conformation, temperament.
Or the coats, just the coats. The number of people I've heard like field people talk about coats versus show coats and how they do not work as well depending on your venue. It's like a huge thing.
Yeah. We had so Albert is my scent boy now, and we had brought him in this, I think last year at this time, and got his IBCA champion. And they're like, he looks like a bitch. Are you sure he's a boy? And I'm like, yeah, like field lines, like this is what they do when they have that job that they're supposed to be bred for. But luckily I didn't go. I stayed home that weekend. And you see why, and why I try to sometimes. But a huge divide in retrievers in general. Yeah. What else? So you were saying that you don't like to have puppy people come to your house. So that wouldn't be considered a red flag, right? And this is something like, I don't want puppy people coming to my house either, depending on the ages, and like we have health protocols we go through. But I've heard that some people are like, no, I'm not going to that breeder because they won't let me go and see the puppies or go and pick out the puppy that I want. And we don't do either of those. Like, you'll see pictures and videos and I'll assign puppies.
I do think the breeder should pick out the puppy for the most part, unless it's a very seasoned, experienced trainer. But I do want to see the house. I do want to see where the puppies were whelped. I do want to see the cleanliness of everything.
I typically set up a webcam. Once I have people who I know are probably going to get a puppy, because I don't make mine public. The best case scenario for me is having met everybody on my wait list before I've done the breeding.
Okay.
I was fortunate my last litter, I only have 4 puppies. I kept one, 2 went to previous buyers.
Nice.
So that was a no-brainer there. And then the other people I met through Instagram, they came in kind of late, but I had posted enough content on puppy raising that they really wanted a puppy from me. So I have an application. I speak to people on the phone. I don't take deposits until the puppies are 2 weeks old. So I make sure I have a puppy, and depending if it's for a show performance home or a pet home, I tell them I won't even know which puppy until they're 8 weeks old, till all the evaluations are done. And some people, I tell them I can't even guarantee them a puppy, because I do match each puppy to each family. And again, if it's an experienced trainer breeder, then they make the final decision on which puppy, but usually I'll have like 2 available to them and I'll let them decide which one.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
we've done that a couple times where I'm like, oh, it's one of these 2, but I don't know which one. And it's nice if they live kind of close, because I'm like, do you want to come over and meet them? You know, like, this is what you're going to do. And this is like, do you have dogs at the house? Because then change clothes in your car. But you know, we'll do a lot on social media. I put up so much on TikTok, and then I cross post it with YouTube and Facebook and Insta. So, and it's in my bedroom, so we say no webcam. Here's somebody commented, Anna commented, hard part is we always tell people to meet the parents, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this tonight, right? Not sure I agree with that too much anymore if they're proven in public settings via training and sports and titles and connected in the community. So yeah, a lot of times you don't have the male there.
I was gonna say the stud dog is so rarely on premises. Like,
yeah, and if they're only using the in-house stud dog and that's it,
that's sort of a red flag.
That's one of our red flags.
In my opinion, is like, if you're not, sometimes you keep a boy because you want him for something. I'm literally getting a puppy in January. I breed as part of a co-op. There's 3 of us. One of us is in West Virginia. My other co-breeder is 2 towns over. And I'm going to pick a boy that we're breeding to a stud from Australia, from a bitch that we kept from a stud in Russia, specifically so that we can produce something that is not related to the rest of our lines. Because I was like, we might as well have a boy that we can use, hopefully, if it's nice, he does all the things we want. So I'm picking one for that purpose, but he's still not going to be there. Like, that's not the goal of it. And the whole, once we started doing AI, the
changes things.
male is always going to be present. It's just unlikely. So I do think it's important when I have people who are like, well, I want to meet the stud. I'm like, you can go track him down if you want to, but he doesn't live here. So this is not necessarily an option for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a question for Jen. Melanie had asked, is there any testing for allergies or IBD, and are those genetic?
Okay, this is a good one. So everything does get passed down. And get a little weird on you guys for a minute, maybe. So you've all heard the term generational curses, right? Well, take that and just put it into literally everything. And you guys know this. I'm not saying anything you guys don't know, I don't think. Just kind of try to recap a little bit and then kind of move into that. So whatever the parents, the mother, the father, the sire, the dam are going through, will get passed down or affect the puppies in all ways, right? So let's say the mom is living in a very traumatic situation and she is living in fight or flight while she's pregnant. Well, the puppies will now come out very nervous and very insecure and scared and all those kind of things, right? So we understand how this works. It's the exact same with food and nutrition and everything. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to tell you how to fix it, what we can do about it. So I've got this client, and she got a lab, and it's a long story involving an animal communicator and a reincarnation, and it's a story. maybe better for another time. So I'm giving you the quick brief scenario here because it's already sounding weird. And so reincarnation situation, like I don't know where to go with that, but that's for another time. She gets this puppy from a lab breeder and she believes it's her reincarnated dog, but this go around she wants to show and breed. So I start guiding her and teaching her. This kennel has no titles in any of the anythings. There's nothing. They are just dogs being bred. It's all they are. So now trying to take that and turn it into a conformation champion is not really going to be an easy scenario, right? Almost impossible, especially since, for those of you that know, your labs, Ray, you need to stop that right now. Your needs are not important to mine. She looked at me like, yeah, they are sometimes. Stop. So your labs are these really short, squat, fat little things in the show ring. They couldn't retrieve a duck to save their life, right? She has a very leggy, tall, like, Ray, you need to stop that, ma'am. You're being incredibly rude right now. Couche. Always when I go to get on a dang Zoom, then they've all got needs. So anyways, long story short, she was going to be doing all the right things to see if she could get a title on this dog to prove that it is worthy of breeding, right? Because if it's just a dog, it is not worthy of breeding. So she doesn't do all the things. She distances herself from me because she knows I'm about to rip her a new one. And she winds up breeding this dog anyways. And this dog has such horrible allergies. It can't even come over for training anymore because it's allergic to my horse. So all of the puppies now also have allergies. All of the puppies have nutritional deficiencies. All of the puppies, the entire litter, is just going to have health issues from here to the end of its days, most likely. So can all of that be genetic? Yeah, it absolutely can. And there's a big giant component in that, right? So genetics does load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? So had she done everything differently or a little bit better or something from the time the puppy was born, would the adult now have allergies? We don't know because we didn't go down that path. She just kind of half-assed everything. So but yes, all of the whole litter, all living puppies do have problems, and her dog has a lot of problems. So I am going to be doing a presentation on this thing that I'm going to tell you about on how to start fixing things on Monday in another paid group for another person, but I will be happy to do it for you guys if you guys would like it. It is stem cells. So these little things that you guys always see me wearing, these are stem cell activation patches, which change everything, right? So we deal with a lot of dogs that have a lot of allergies. And when it comes to dogs that have allergies, we do have to take a long look at genetics if we can, but if we just adopted the dog or whatever, we have to just go a different direction. So when Victoria and I are helping, other people with this in other groups, we ask them, okay, what's going on in your house? Do you use air fresheners? Do you use Glade plugins? Like all that's got to go. Like it's not good for you either. Like it's destroying your endocrine system. So you got to get rid of it anyways. But it will definitely cause all kinds of problems. Is there carpet? And if there's carpet, how often is that actually steam sanitized? And I don't mean by the companies that have the round thingy. I mean the sucky thing, right? That cleans and sucks all the dirt away. Is it vacuumed often enough? Are you using baking soda on there to kind of get rid of stuff? There's so many different variables when it comes to that. That's the first place we start, though, making sure that we clean up the environment because that will affect the dogs. Absolutely. So now let's say that we're in a situation where we got the dog detoxed, because when it comes to allergies and these kind of things, whether it's coming from genetics and the mom or whether it's being developed in a new home, because we've seen that before too. Victoria and I kind of tag teamed on certain situations where these puppies were put in different homes and they're fine in one location, but not in the other location. So we've kind of worked on that. to figure out what's going on in the other houses or what's going on in the environment. So you also have to understand that your trees and bushes and shrubs in your area will also affect your dogs differently if they come from a different state or a different area, because it's not something that they are used to having to deal with. So depending on the dog, you could have these problems. So if this is a situation and if it's genetics, how do we fix it? Right? Like if it's not environmental, where the house has been cleaned up, everything's cleaned up, nothing to worry about, piece of cake, right? They have no glade plugins. We get them on a raw diet. We do some detoxing with them with some homeopathics. Now we need to activate some stem cells. And that's, I've got, I don't purposely mean to be flipping you all off, like I'm not J-Jack, but.
Sure.
But I've got some stem cells going because I decided it would be a good idea to crush my finger last night in my garage door. I cried. It was embarrassing. I cried a lot. I called my dad. My dad had to come over and help me. So stem cells are how we fix genetics, right? So when it comes, that's our genetics too. Yeah, I'm working on my own stem cells right now. So I can do like a whole other presentation on this whole thing. I don't want to make this whole thing just about this because there's other things I'm sure we're about to talk about. But when it does come down to that kind of a scenario, that kind of a situation where we're suspecting that it's genetics, and this is what we're going to do with my client's dog. We're going to work on the stem cells. So I will keep you guys updated and posted on that. So again, when it comes to allergies, it's either you've got genetics being passed down or you've got stuff in the environment that's being passed down, or over vaccination. All these other different things could cause allergies as well. But either way, from wherever they come from, the way you're going to fix it is diet, nutrition, and not every diet is going to work for every single dog, but we've got options. Cleaning up the house, making sure there's no chemicals and harsh products or anything in there. And then once we have all that done and we're still having problems, even though we've done new nutrition, detox, supplements, that kind of stuff, now we're going with stem cells and rebuilding the dog. Did I answer everything in that question? Can't remember. I know I saw it. Allergies. Oh, IBD. Okay. So irritable bowel syndromes or disorders and different things like that. It's an umbrella term for anything GI that's going wrong. When doctors don't know what's going wrong, they're like, oh, you have IBD or IBS or something like that. It's just a very genetic, broad term to cover anything GI. So when it comes to GI stuff, we have a lot to look at, right? Again, genetics. Did the parents have it? Did the mom have it? Were there problems there? And again, food. What were the parents fed? So for me, like, this is a really big one. And I've learned this the hard way. I've been rebuilding Han for 7 years because I didn't like the food that his parents were being fed. But he was my dog spiritually, no matter what. I had to come home with that guy. I didn't have a choice. Like, it was going to be a spiritual attack if I didn't come home with him. So rebuilding him. But when it comes to IBD, IBS, these bowel anythings, we have to take a look at, first and foremost, the environment and nutrition, what's going in the dog and what's surrounding the dog. And then if you have a completely clean greenhouse, you use nothing but really good products, it's all kinds of good stuff. Oh, another one too, for those that have their dogs on everything, those are usually my biggest clients. The dog is on topical flea and tick, internal flea and tick, internal parasite, like all of these things. The thing you guys don't want to forget is anything that goes on or in you or an animal that is designed to kill something is going to have a negative impact. There's no way around that. It's a chemical designed to kill, right? So the first thing we do is pull the dogs off of all of that. The heart guard and this thing and that thing, all these stinking things that the dogs are on, pull them off of all of it. We detox them, and that usually makes a really, really big impact on their entire digestive tract. Nothing can work when imagine your body is a living thing, okay? It is. but imagine it like it's separate from you for a moment, right? And your body, their body, wakes up every morning and goes, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to heal myself, because bodies were designed to heal themselves. We just kind of mess that up quite a bit. So every single day, the body is constantly trying to heal and repair itself. When we don't give it what it needs, a clean, healthy environment, a clean diet, all of that, it can't do its job. So the more that goes on or in the dog that's in the toxic realm, the more the body is going to start to shut down, because it is busy trying to process the toxins, and there's no time left to heal. And keep in mind that when it comes to allergies, bowel, anything, digestive, anything, the only time the body can actually heal is when it's sleeping. So naps are good for us and them. Let them nap, right? Let them have a good nap. And the only time the brain has its own lymphatic system, it's called a glymphatic system. And the only time that can clean out is when they're sleeping, right? So for all of us who have clients who want to keep their puppies up all day long to try to make them sleep throughout the night, we all know they're not doing the right thing. But now, if you didn't know that, you can tell them, no, your puppy needs naps to sleep so it can detox its brain and get rid of any toxins in the environment. It's in the water, it's in the air. We all know this, right? It's everywhere. So yes, all those can be genetic, but they also can be brought on by vaccines, parasite control, flea and tick control, all of that kind of good stuff. But detoxing, diet change, cleaning up the environment, and stem cell therapy can fix it all. The goal is to completely cure and heal, not learn to tolerate, right? Perfect. So I will keep you guys posted on this other dog that I'm working on to see if we can get rid of all of her allergies. We'll see. We'll find out. I'm putting it to the test.
Good. So Jordan asked, and I see Mallory, I was gonna ask you to field this one, and she did in the chat, but I wanted to get it out there to make sure everybody got to see it and hear it for when they're hearing it in the future. She said, excuse me if this is a stupid question, but what is the importance of not having the stud on premises? I can think of a few reasons, but I'd love to hear your point of view. And Mallory said, no stupid questions, because she's awesome. Generally, you might choose to breed your own dogs together once, but if your goal is to better your breeding program, then likely you're going to look at every other male out there and choose from them. With the advent of artificial insemination, AI, not artificial intelligence, even though that'd be cool too. It became increasingly very easy for us to breed to dogs owned by others, which means most of the time the breeder will be using someone else's male. And I know my repro vet loves frozen. Like if she has a choice, it's frozen because it's ready and waiting for whenever it's time, providing it was extracted well. Yes. And then she says, once you've done a litter with one male, while you may repeat it, you only get it, or if you get only a singleton or only all males or all females, generally you take that litter, get the information about what your girl's producing, and then breed to a different male to hopefully produce something else or achieve your goals, as well as create more diversity in your lines. So.
You figure you're only going to get 3, maybe 4 litters. It depends on your girl. I've had girls who just all they wanted to do was be a mama. All right. And you're like, fine, we can do 4. Like this is your entire purpose in life. Sure, I can do this for you. But again, you're not getting a huge number of litters. Breeding her over and over to the same boy is not, you're not going anywhere. You're putting yourself kind of into the same place. You're produces the same things over and over again. And theoretically, when I'm looking for a breeder, I'm looking for a breeder who has a goal in mind. Those goals can be so different. People have very different desires. Service dogs are breeding for temperament most of the time. People who are breeding for pets are breeding for temperament. Conformation breeders are breeding for really perfect conformation. Field breeders, and these all things work together. I spend a lot of time talking to service dog groups about the fact that you cannot produce a great service dog that doesn't have good conformation, because conformation literally allows them to do the job they have to do. So not knowing what conformation means will hurt you later when your dog is 8 years old and can't do the work anymore because they can't physically hold up. That's where these cathedral fronts and terrible rears and like this stuff comes back to get you. But everybody has different goals. And breeding to the same dog over and over again is not allowing you to get closer to that ideal goal that you're looking for. So most people are saying, okay, I got 3 litters. I'm going to do this dog and then look at it and okay, I got this and this and this. So maybe, you know what, I better find somebody who's going to give me this thing. So hopefully if I breed to him, I'm going to get better fronts this time. So I'm going to go and use him this time. And then you look at that. And then you decide to do with that 3rd litter. And maybe if you produced the most amazing puppies with one dog, maybe you do it again because you're like, man, I should have kept a girl and I didn't. I'm going to do it again and hope I get that girl that I should have kept the first time. But in general, you're just not looking at the dog. I love my dogs and I look at my dogs and think I'm doing the best I can, but I spend a lot of time looking at other people's dogs and being like, super nice. I wish I had some of that. You know, I'll go to you, get some of that and see if that can come home to me. That's what I'm doing. That's the point of what I'm doing. So if I have someone who's saying, oh no, I just use these dogs that I have in my house all the time, I start to question either what your goals are or your ability to look at the big picture and be able to breed toward that better goal that you're really searching for. Again, this is all of this you have to take with a grain of salt. And so sometimes you have to meet these people and really have these conversations because they might be able to say to you, no, this is why I'm doing this. Here it is. Like I put all this work into this dog and this dog to create these 2 lines so that I could marry them together and they'll have these great reasons. And that's awesome. But it's always something that I see and go, I want to check on that before I just go along with it.
I think that's a perfect answer and a perfect extension of the answer. Thank you. What are some red flags that you've heard of or you've had people ask you? Because it's so cute. Sometimes, you know, you get the phone calls and it's like they have a little list of questions. And I'm like, I love that you're doing this. It's, you know, like when the kids would come up to you with their questions. I think that's fantastic. And I love it whenever they're prepared, because we do a phone call too. After they submit the application, their step is to schedule a phone call with us through Calendly, because I like to keep it easy so they can get on and schedule and we're not playing the back and forth game. And then my first question is always, what questions do you have for me? You know, and sometimes like I love it when they have them. I love it whenever they have other family members, you know, like I've got you on speakerphone. Is that okay? I'm like, heck yeah. Tell me what, you know, like, let's talk about it. But you know, there are some red flags for me looking at other breeders. And my big one was the health testing, not seeing it. We were discussing earlier too, the websites that are from the 1980s and 90s, and they've never been updated. And like the dogs they have on there, you know, like have all been long dead and you don't know what they're doing. That drives me nuts. But what for you guys?
I think puppy raising is really important. I mean, I follow the Avid Dog puppy raising protocol, which actually starts before you breed your bitch. Conditioning your bitch, feeding your bitch, vaccinations, it covers all that. And then from the whelping, the protocol, puppy raising, socialization, all of that. How are they raised in the house? How many people do they meet? You know, just all the different stimulation things that you do. You know, and I do a lot. It's exhausting. But I think that it's really important for people to look at how the puppies are raised, because puppies that aren't exposed to things don't develop properly mentally, as well as physically. You know, if I see people will send me videos of breeders' puppies and they're running around on hardwood floors, that's a huge red flag. Puppies need to have some sort of textured floor because it's not good for their joints. Just what's in the whelping box, those are things. A breeder who sells somebody multiple puppies, I will never sell.
If a breeder offers you, you know, like BOGO, buy one, get one free, run.
Yeah, exactly. I think a breeder who doesn't have a contract, won't take the dog back at any time during its lifetime, who doesn't follow up with the puppy pupil. You know, they just sell them, goodbye. You know, I mean, I think a breeder that offers a lot of support is invaluable. I mean, I've been fortunate that I've had many of my puppy people come back to me for their next puppy. We co-own many of the dogs together. But then also too, on the other side of that is breeders who are too controlling, who, you know, make demands that the puppy has to do this, this, and this. And, you know, it's crazy. But I think the support, especially for people who either haven't had a puppy in a long time, haven't ever owned that breed, but you feel confident, you know, look for breeder support. And nowadays, a lot of people have Facebook groups for their puppy people.
Yeah.
So you can connect with other people who have bought dogs from them.
Yeah, I joke that we're going to change the name of Hope Service Dogs to Hope Service Dogs and BFFs, because it's like we keep trying to connect people up, and like then they'll become like best friends and they live across the country from each other. And you know, it's something pretty awesome and magical, you know, that's all because of this. But yeah, and I just had somebody too who was asking about the breeder support, and I'm like what type of breeder support do you mean? Because we do training too. And I'm like, if you take the puppy home at 8 weeks old, I can't give you free training for the life of your dog. But, you know, if questions come up, yes, ask me. But if you want me to train your dog for you for life, that's not the support I offer at that price point.
Yeah.
It's also important to get honesty from your breeder. I see a lot of people being like, oh, that breeder produced something bad. You should never go to her. If you've been breeding long enough, you've produced bad things. Like,
and people should be honest.
And you should be, like, and I want to know that you said, hey, this happened. I've produced dogs that have had these things happen. The part of what happens with dogs is you're producing 12 puppies. There's a huge amount of genetic mutation that occurs within that litter, which means that sometimes things happen. And if you can't be upfront about like, yeah, I've had this stuff occur. This is how I'm trying to avoid it. I'm testing. I didn't breed that. I'm not going to put those two lines together again because clearly it didn't work. But if you can't be upfront about the fact that you've produced stuff, you either haven't done it, you haven't produced very many dogs, or you're just not telling people about it. And neither one of those, you know, it's okay to have not produced a lot of dogs, but if you've done more than a couple litters, something's happened. It does. And it's terrible, but it's true. And I would rather you be upfront with me about that and tell me exactly what's been going on so that we can all be on the same page than have people lie about it.
But I think that a lot of people are kennel blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if people don't understand what that means, they think that everything they produce is perfect. And there's no perfect dog.
Right? It's as hard as it is to believe and wrap your head around, right? Like my dog's perfect. I know Jen's dog's perfect.
We're here being like, my last dog, he's perfect. No one will ever tell me that.
Right?
But, you know.
What about some red flags that a breeder might be looking for in a future owner? Some things that are like, nope, not doing this.
They refuse to fill out the application.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I have a questionnaire for a reason. Just fill it out.
Yeah. We had one who, I want a dog for my grandpa. Okay, well, have him fill out the form. Well, you should just schedule up a phone call and talk to him. First he fills out the form, then he schedules up the phone call. Well, how dare you ask him to do all that? That could be a full waste of time. And I'm like, and this has been a full waste of time. Like, no, you know, or you get people, there's some things I won't train for. And so like when we're talking task wise, if they, you know, really are pushing for that, I'm like, no, like that's not what we want. Or if they have multiple dogs who have behavior issues, you know, if they have like a dog who's dog aggressive in the home, no, like I don't want that, because it's going to be management and management's going to fail. And, you know, you want a service dog, rehome Cujo or take him to the vet.
The reason I don't take deposits, the reason I refuse to take deposits is because the minute somebody comes in and says, well, I'm paying you for this, so I get to have this. No, I just spent 8 weeks like living and breathing these puppies. So they are all like my babies. And I am going to make sure that they end up like what I want more than anything for every one of my puppies and for every one of you is I want to be able to, you've come and told me what your hopes and dreams are for this dog. And I want to give you the puppy that I think is most likely to live up to every single hope and dream and desire you have, not the puppy you think you want. Because just because on, you know, whatever day you came to meet, because I do let people come see my puppies once they're older, like 6-7 weeks. I'm like, yeah, all right. You can't pick them out, but you can come hang out with them. But I want to make sure you get the best dog. And as we all know, the trope about like, oh, well, he loved me and came right over to me. And I'm like, yeah, you and every other person who came in here. Like, if you don't know, I want you to trust me to know that I'm trying to do the very best I can for you and for the dogs. And I'm going to put those together in a way that I think is going to work out the absolute most phenomenally. And if you think that coming in here and saying, okay, well, I'm going to buy this puppy so I get that one, it's just not going to, we are not going to be able to work, because that is not how I am functioning and how I function as a breeder. And there are people out there who do that and it works for them. But as far as like for me, no. And like, as far as Anna's saying, like wanting certain colors, I'm lucky because I'm in Vizslas. We don't have certain colors. Like just a red one. That's what I have
as well.
They're all red.
Well, some want the light, some want the dark and the goldens. And I tell them like, no, like we might have like Princess is our light girl, right? And she's pregnant, but he's not like super white. So we're going to see what they produce. We didn't breed him because of color, but you know, we'll get something. Well, I want the like a light colored dog. Then I'm not your breeder. Like you could want it and be like, it'd be nice, but I don't care if he's the darkest red that ever lived, you know, like if he's going to be that perfect dog for me.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
people
color
get
is so-
stuck on whatever collar color that puppy's wearing. They only want the red color puppy. But I think that no puppies is gifts.
Yeah.
The only time I ever did that was a surprise, was a family who had already owned a dog from me, wanted to surprise their daughter. That was okay.
Right.
So the parents knew that was fine, but no dogs as presents. I have to meet everybody. They have to pick up in person. I mean, I just had somebody come from California to pick up a puppy, and then they flew the dog back on canine jets, on a charter jet in cabin.
Nice.
I've delivered a puppy to Europe. So, you know, it's every breeder has their methods of doing things, but I think that the buyers, my feeling is if I can't be friends with these people, because you're going to have a 10 to 14 year relationship, then we're not meant to be in business together.
Yeah.
My breeder came to my wedding. She flew
What's
out
that?
from Texas to attend my wedding. I met her when I was 21 and I got a puppy, and 8 years later I got married and she was there in the second aisle.
Oh, that's great.
That's it, man. I'm hoping that these are things that we can have this kind of connection, like where you're going to send me Christmas updates and I'm going to watch your puppy on Facebook and cheer you on. And like, that's what you should be getting from me, so that at midnight when your puppy eats a chapstick, you don't feel bad texting me and being like, oh, I didn't like it. And I can sit there and be like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
The sad thing is, when you've been breeding long enough and you get the phone calls at midnight from the emergency vet that they want you to help make the decision to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's been rough, but it's a blessing to be part of that as well. Something that I don't think we brought up that's important, that we don't have time to go into, is temperament testing.
Yes.
I do confirmation evaluation, and then I also do the Avidog APET temperament test that somebody else obviously administers. And then taking all those pieces on top of the vet visit, then I decide who's getting which puppy.
Yeah. Yeah. We do based on Volhard with extras.
Yeah, we do
Is how I-
Volhard with cognitive stuff added in.
Right.
Yeah.
I've looked into the Avidog one, but not as much as I need to. And we start training them about 5 weeks, and you know, looking at what we're seeing and making notes and seeing, because we found before 5 weeks old, they're kind of little guinea pig potatoes, and it's 5 weeks that's like, okay, now you're showing us who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
So yay. And we are down to the last minute. What is your final thoughts that you want to leave everybody with? We'll start with Jen. She's been quiet for a while.
I think I'm frozen.
that what we're gonna go with?
Okay, my last tip would be, I don't care who you are, I don't care what purpose your puppy is going to be for, if it's just a pet dog or anything else, health is number one, because if you don't have health, you don't have a freaking dog. You need health. And health relates to temperament. Health, health, health.
Perfect. Linda.
I think form equals function. I'm looking for the best forever home and relationship with that person. And it's wonderful when people say that I picked the perfect puppy for them.
Nice. Mallory.
Somebody had said earlier, how do I get my puppy people who are just saying, well, I don't need those things in a dog? I think the thing to remember is the reason you go to a breeder is because they are trying to set you up with the best blank slate that they can. So why should you bother going to a breeder? Because they're going to try to set you up with a dog that has the best health that they possibly can, who has the best temperament related to their breed. So you have an idea of what you're getting because you pick this breed for those specific breed temperaments, and is going to sit there and be able to offer you mentorship toward getting your dog to be the adult dog that you want. And those are things that you can't get if you don't go through some sort of breeder relationship. And so even if what you want is just a dog, every dog that we produce is a pet first. They may do everything else, but what we're really breeding for is the dog that we want to see at the bottom of our bed every morning. And hopefully that's what you want too.
That's perfect. And I will leave it with this. You're not just picking a puppy, right? You're picking your companion, your soulmate for some, for those next, hopefully 14 years, but the dog that's going to live with you in your heart for the rest of your life. And you deserve to have the best dog ever. You deserve to have your dream dog who's going to be able to be a part of all your life's journeys during that time that you have with them. So make sure you get one from a breeder who is going to be there for you, and, going to support you in every way, shape, or form that you can. So thank you. Thank you, lovely ladies. I'm going to put this up, like I said, in the Aspiring Professional Dog Trainer podcast, and I might put it up on YouTube also, so people can go and listen and learn for years to come, which is amazing. And I was thinking maybe we could do this, like do a webinar of something. It won't necessarily always be breeder related, but if we do a webinar maybe twice a month, that's 24 or 26 if you count those extra weeks, right? Or 25 or whatever, but it's not as overwhelming as if we did it weekly. So if we could plan on every other week, if you guys have ideas on what you want to see, shoot them up in the group. And thank you all for giving us your time tonight. It's so appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.
And I will see you in the Facebook land.
Thank you.